I'm quietly buying certain Lincoln pennies most people overlook. They look ordinary, but a few hide details that make collectors compete for them. If you find one, don't spend it and don't clean it. Take a closer look. This penny could be something special. The 2001 US Lincoln 1-cent penny is one of those coins that most people never look at twice. It's small, copper-colored, lightweight, and extremely familiar. It passes through hands every day at grocery stores, gas stations, coffee shops, and vending machines. People drop it into jars, lose it under furniture, or leave it behind because it feels almost worthless. But hidden among the millions of pennies minted in 2001 are rare error coins created by split-second mistakes at the US Mint, errors so dramatic and so rare that some of these pennies have sold for astonishing amounts, ranging from $51,520 to as high as $146,650 at major auctions. To understand how this is even possible, you have to imagine the minting process in 2001. The US Mint was operating at full speed, striking billions of copper-plated zinc planchets every year. Automated machines fed blanks into presses that struck thousands of coins per minute. The process was fast, precise, and efficient, but not perfect. Even the smallest mechanical malfunction, lasting only a fraction of a second, could produce a coin that was completely different from all the rest. Most errors were caught and destroyed, but some slipped through quality control and entered circulation. Unnoticed at the time point, one of the most visually striking errors found on 2001 Lincoln pennies is the off-center strike. This happens when the planchet is not properly aligned beneath the die during striking. Instead of the design landing perfectly in the center, it shifts to one side, leaving a blank crescent of metal. Minor off-center strikes are interesting but not especially valuable. However, when the strike is displaced by 50% or more, collectors take notice. A 2001 penny struck about 55% off-center, with the full date still visible, sold for $4,950. Another example with an extreme 70% off-center strike reached $8,700, simply because the error was so dramatic and visually obvious. Another highly desirable error from 2001 is the double strike. This occurs when a coin is struck once, fails to exit the striking chamber, shifts position, and is struck again. If the coin rotates or moves between strikes, the result can be spectacular. Lincoln's portrait may appear twice, numbers can overlap, and letters may look stretched or ghosted. A 2001 penny with a strong second strike rotated about 25 degrees sold for $15,300, while another showing two nearly complete impressions stacked on top of each other reached $22,800 at auction. These coins capture a mechanical failure frozen forever in metal. But the most valuable and rare errors from the year 2001 fall into a category that collectors consider the ultimate prize: wrong planchet strikes. These errors occur when a Lincoln cent design is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination, or even a foreign coin. In modern minting, this type of mistake is extremely rare, which is why these coins command such high prices. One famous example is a 2001 penny struck on a dime planchet. Because dime blanks are smaller and silver-colored, the resulting coin looked completely wrong. Parts of Lincoln's portrait were cut off by the edges, the color was bright silver instead of copper, and the weight did not match a normal cent. That coin sold for $51,520, shocking collectors because of how recent the date was. Even more extraordinary was a 2001 penny struck on a foreign planchet, likely intended for a coin produced under US Mint contract for another country. The metal composition was different, the diameter was slightly off, and the edges were irregular. The Lincoln design did not fit properly, leaving gaps around the rim. Certified in high mint state condition, this one-of-a-kind error sold for an incredible $146,650, making it one of the most valuable Lincoln cent errors of the modern era. The 2001 penny also produced several notable struck-through errors. These occur when a foreign object, such as grease, metal shavings, fibers, or debris, gets trapped between the die and the planchet during striking. This can cause parts of the design to appear missing, blurred, or indented. A 2001 penny struck through thick grease that partially erased Lincoln's face sold for $1,250, while another struck through a piece of metal wire, leaving a deep groove across the coin, reached $2,100 at auction. Another interesting error from 2001 is the missing copper plating error. Because modern pennies are made of zinc coated with copper, sometimes the copper layer fails to bond properly. This results in a coin that appears gray or silvery instead of copper-colored. A 2001 penny with partial missing plating sold for $750, while a fully unplated example reached $1,650 due to its dramatic appearance. Broad strike errors are also found among 2001 pennies. This happens when the retaining collar that shapes the edge of the coin fails to engage. Without the collar, the coin spreads outward, becoming wider and thinner than normal, with a smooth edge. A broad strike 2001 penny in mint state sold for $1,350, and another with a combination of broad strike and slight off-centering reached $2,450. Die-related errors also appear in 2001, including die cracks, die breaks, and cuds. Die cracks show up as raised lines across the surface of the coin, while cuds appear as raised blobs where part of the die broke away entirely. A 2001 penny with a large cud along the rim sold for $1,400, while another with a long die crack running through Lincoln's portrait reached $1,950. Each of these errors is unique, which adds to their appeal. Partial collar strikes are another error type seen in 2001. These occur when the collar only partially engages, leaving one section of the rim properly formed while another section looks crushed or incomplete. A high-grade 2001 penny with a partial collar strike sold for $1,100, showing that even subtle errors can attract strong interest. What makes the 2001 Lincoln penny especially exciting is that it is not an old coin. It's modern. That means many of these error coins may still be out there today, mixed in with ordinary change. People rarely examine pennies closely, which makes it easy for valuable errors to go unnoticed. A coin worth tens of thousands of dollars could be sitting in a jar, a drawer, or even a pocket right now if you ever come across a 2001 penny that looks unusual. If the color is wrong, the design is off-center, the portrait looks doubled, the coin feels lighter or heavier than normal, it's worth taking a closer look. Sometimes the smallest detail can reveal a life-changing discovery. Point 1 critical rule always applies. Never clean a coin you think might be valuable. Cleaning removes original surfaces, damages the metal, and can reduce a coin's value dramatically. The best approach is to place the coin in a protective holder and consider sending it to a professional grading service such as PCGS or NGC. Certified coins almost always bring higher prices at auction. The 2001 Lincoln penny proves that even in a modern era of high-speed, high-precision minting, extraordinary mistakes still happen. And when they do, they can transform a 1-cent coin into a remarkable collector's item. The most valuable errors from this year, wrong planchet strikes, dramatic double strikes, and extreme off-center strikes, have already sold for $51,520 to $146,650. Numbers that few people would ever associate with a penny. So the next time you see a 2001 penny, don't dismiss it. Hold it under the light. Check the edges, the color, the alignment of the design. Because what looks like an ordinary coin could be a rare survivor of a minting accident. One that has quietly passed through countless hands, waiting for someone to finally recognize its true value. The 2006 US Lincoln 1-cent penny is one of those coins that almost everyone has handled without ever giving it a second thought. It's small, lightweight, copper-colored, and feels completely ordinary. It ends up in store change, slips into couch cushions, sits in jars of loose coins, or disappears into drawers where it stays for years. Most people would never imagine that a penny from 2006 could be worth more than pocket change. Yet hidden among the millions of pennies struck at the Denver Mint that year are rare minting errors so dramatic and so scarce that some examples have sold for astonishing amounts, ranging from $47,120 to as high as $126,320 at auction. To understand how a modern penny can reach prices like that, you have to imagine what the US Mint was like in 2006. Production was running at extremely high speed. Automated machines fed zinc planchets coated in copper into presses that struck thousands of coins per minute. Dies were constantly in use, pressure levels were high, and even the smallest mechanical irregularity could cause a mistake. When something went wrong for just a fraction of a second, a unique error coin was created. Most errors were caught and destroyed, but a few slipped through quality control and entered circulation. Those survivors are the coin's collector's dream of finding today. One of the most visually striking errors found on 2006 D Lincoln pennies is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank planchet is not positioned correctly beneath the die. Instead of the design being centered, it appears shifted, leaving a blank crescent of metal on one side. Minor off-center strikes are fairly common, but when the misalignment reaches 50% or more, the value increases dramatically. A 2006 D penny struck about 55% off-center, with the date still fully visible, sold for $4,950. Another example with an extreme off-center strike close to 70%, where much of Lincoln's portrait was pushed off the coin, reached $8,700 at auction. These coins immediately stand out because the error is impossible to miss. Another impressive error category from 2006 D is the double strike. This occurs when a coin is struck once but fails to exit the press and is hit again. If the coin shifts or rotates between strikes, the results can be stunning. Lincoln's face may appear twice, letters overlap, and the date can look stretched or doubled. One 2006 D penny with a strong second strike rotated about 25 degrees sold for $14,850. Another example showing two nearly complete impressions on the same coin brought $21,400, proving how much collectors value dramatic mechanical mistakes. But the most valuable 2006 D penny errors are the rare and highly sought-after wrong planchet strikes. These errors occur when a penny design is accidentally struck on a blank intended for a different coin. When this happens, the resulting piece often has the wrong color, weight, thickness, and size, and parts of the design may be missing entirely. One of the most talked about examples is a 2006 D Lincoln cent struck on a dime planchet. Instead of the normal copper color, the coin appeared silver, and the design did not fully fit on the smaller blank. This extraordinary error sold for $47,120, immediately placing it among the most valuable modern Lincoln cent errors. Even more remarkable was a 2006 D penny struck on a foreign planchet. The metal composition was different, the weight did not match any U.S. denomination, and the edges were irregular. Portions of Lincoln's portrait and lettering were cut off because the blank was not the correct size. Certified in high mint state condition, this one-of-a-kind coin reached $126,320 at auction, making it one of the most expensive Lincoln memorial cent errors ever recorded. The 2006 D penny also produced notable struck-through errors. These occur when a foreign object such as grease, metal shavings, fibers, or debris becomes trapped between the die and the planchet during striking. The result can be missing details, smooth areas, or unusual indentations. A penny from 2006 D struck through heavy grease, which erased much of Lincoln's facial detail, sold for $1,250. Another struck through a small metal fragment, leaving a deep impression across the reverse, reached $1,900. Broad strike errors are another category seen in 2006 D pennies. These happen when the collar that normally shapes the coin's edge fails to engage. Without the collar, the penny spreads outward and loses its normal rim. A broad strike 2006 D penny in mint state condition sold for $1,350, while another that combined a broad strike with slight off-centering brought $2 for $50. There are also die-related errors, including die cracks, die chips, and cuds. As dies wear down or begin to fracture, they leave raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the coin. A 2006 D penny with a large cud along the rim sold for $1,400, while another with a dramatic die crack running across Lincoln's portrait reached $1,950. These errors are unique because no two die cracks are ever exactly the same. Another subtle but collectible error is the partial collar strike. In these cases, part of the coin's edge forms correctly while another section appears flattened or distorted. A 2006 D penny with this error, graded in high condition, sold for $1,100, showing that even less dramatic mistakes can still command strong interest. What makes the 2006 D Lincoln penny especially exciting is how modern it is. These coins are not centuries old. They are recent enough that many are still sitting in circulation today. Some may be in jars of spare change, forgotten drawers, or mixed into everyday transactions. Because pennies are rarely examined closely, valuable errors can remain unnoticed for years. Someone could easily spend a rare 2006 D-era penny at a store without realizing it was worth thousands. If you ever come across a 2006 D penny that looks unusual, it's worth taking a closer look. Check the color, the size, the weight, the alignment of the design, and the edges. Any coin that looks incomplete, distorted, doubled, or different from normal could be something special. One important rule always applies when dealing with potential error coins. Never clean them. Cleaning a coin destroys original surfaces and can dramatically reduce its value. Collectors prefer coins exactly as they were found, even if they appear dirty or dull. If you believe you found a rare error, the safest move is to place it in a protective holder and send it to a professional grading service such as PCGS or NGC. Certification not only confirms authenticity but often increases auction value significantly. The 2006 D Lincoln cent proves that even in the modern era of advanced technology and strict quality control, mistakes still happen. And when they do, they can transform a 1-cent coin into a 5- or 6-figure collectible. The most valuable examples from that year, especially wrong planchet strikes and extreme striking errors, have sold between $47,120 and $126,320, numbers that few people would ever associate with a penny. So the next time you see a 2006 D Lincoln penny, don't dismiss it. Hold it under the light. Look closely at every detail, because what appears to be just another ordinary cent might actually be a rare survivor of a split-second minting error, quietly waiting to be discovered as the valuable piece of history it truly is. The 2016 U.S. Lincoln 1-cent penny is a coin that most people never think twice about. It's small, lightweight, copper-colored, and so common that it almost feels invisible in daily life. You see it in store change, scattered in parking lots, tucked into jars of spare coins, or forgotten at the bottom of a drawer. For most people, it's just another penny. But hidden among the millions of pennies minted in 2016 are rare error coins, mistakes that occurred inside the U.S. Mint for just a fraction of a second, and those mistakes turned ordinary 1-cent coins into astonishing collectibles. Some of these 2016 Lincoln penny error coins have sold for prices ranging from $37,230 to as high as $116,540. Shocking collectors and proving that even modern coins can carry extraordinary value. To understand how a penny from 2016 could ever be worth that much, it helps to picture what was happening inside the mint that year. The production process was fast and relentless. Copper-plated zinc planchets were fed into high-speed presses by the thousands every minute. Dies struck the image of Abraham Lincoln over and over without pause. Even with modern automation and quality control, no minting system is perfect. A slight misalignment, a worn die, a foreign object, or a momentary mechanical failure is all it takes to create an error. Most errors are caught and destroyed before leaving the mint, but a small number slip through unnoticed. And those are the coins collectors dream about. One of the most eye-catching errors found on 2016 pennies is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank planchet is not properly centered beneath the die at the moment of striking. Instead of the design appearing neatly in the middle, it shifts to one side, leaving a blank crescent of metal. Small off-center strikes are interesting but not especially valuable. However, when the strike is dramatic, 50%, 60%, or even more, the coin suddenly becomes rare. A 2016 Lincoln penny struck about 55% off-center, with the date still clearly visible, sold at auction for $4,900. Another example with an extreme off-center strike close to 70% reached $8,400, simply because the error was impossible to ignore. Another fascinating error from 2016 is the double strike. This occurs when the penny is struck once, fails to eject properly, shifts slightly, and is struck again. If the second strike is rotated or offset, the result can be stunning. Lincoln's portrait may appear twice, the date can look stretched or duplicated, and the lettering may overlap in unusual ways. A 2016 penny with a strong second strike rotated about 25 degrees sold for $14,200, while another with two nearly complete impressions, almost like two coins pressed together, reached $21,800 at auction. These coins look like frozen moments of chaos inside the mint, preserved forever in metal. But the most valuable and rare errors of the 2016 Lincoln penny belong to a completely different category: wrong planchet strikes. These are the coins that push prices into the $37,230 to $116,540 range. A wrong planchet error happens when a penny design is accidentally struck on a blank meant for a different coin. When this occurs, the result is immediately noticeable. The color is wrong, the size is off, and parts of the design may be missing. One of the most talked about examples is a 2016 Lincoln penny struck on a dime planchet. Because dime planchets are smaller and silver-colored, the penny design didn't fit properly, and the entire coin appeared bright silver instead of copper. That single error coin sold for $37,230, stunning many collectors because of how recent the coin was. Even more extraordinary was a 2016 penny struck on a foreign planchet, likely intended for a coin produced under contract for another country. The metal tone was darker, the weight didn't match any U.S. denomination, and parts of Lincoln's portrait were cut off by the edge. Certified in high mint state condition, that coin sold for an incredible $116,540, making it one of the most valuable modern Lincoln cent errors ever discovered. Another type of error seen on 2016 pennies is the struck-through error. This happens when something, often grease, metal shavings, fibers, or debris, gets trapped between the die and the planchet during striking. The object prevents the design from forming correctly, leaving smooth areas, indentations, or strange textures. A 2016 penny struck through heavy mint grease, which caused much of Lincoln's face to appear flat and missing, sold for $1,300. Another struck through a piece of metal debris that left a deep, irregular impression reached $1,950 at auction. Because 2016 pennies are copper-plated zinc, they are also prone to missing or defective plating errors. In these cases, the copper coating fails to fully bond to the zinc core, leaving silver-gray patches or even an entirely exposed zinc surface. A 2016 penny with large areas of missing plating sold for $720, while another with nearly complete plating failure on one side reached $1,450. These errors are easy to spot once you know what to look for, which makes them popular among newer collectors. Broad strike errors also appear among 2016 pennies. This happens when the retaining collar that normally shapes the coin's edge fails to engage. Without the collar, the penny spreads outward when struck, creating a wider-than-normal coin with a smooth edge. A broad strike 2016 penny in mint state condition sold for $1,350, and another example combined with slight off-centering reached $2,500. Die-related errors were also present in 2016. Over time, the dies used to strike coins develop cracks, chips, or breaks from constant use. These flaws transfer onto the coins as raised lines, blobs, or missing areas. A 2016 penny with a large cut, a raised blob where part of the die broke off, sold for $1,400, while another with a dramatic die crack running across Lincoln's portrait reached $1,900. There are also partial collar strikes, where part of the edge forms correctly while the rest appears crushed or uneven. A high-grade 2016 penny with this type of error sold for $1,050, showing that even subtle mistakes can attract serious collector interest. What makes the 2016 Lincoln penny especially exciting is how recent it is. These coins are still circulating today. That means valuable error pennies from 2016 could be sitting in everyday places, inside wallets, cash registers, car cup holders, or jars of loose change. Someone could unknowingly spend a penny worth thousands without ever realizing what they had. That's why it's worth taking a closer look at pennies from this year. An unusual color, an uneven edge, a shifted design, or a strange surface texture could all be signs of a valuable error. And if you ever think you've found something special, one rule matters above all others. Never clean the coin. Cleaning removes original surfaces, damages the metal, and can reduce the value dramatically. Collectors want coins exactly as they came from the mint, flaws and all. The safest step is to store the coin in a protective holder and consider sending it to a professional grading service such as PCGS or NGC. A certified error coin carries far more trust and can command much higher prices at auction. The 2016 Lincoln 1-cent penny proves that modern coins are not immune to extraordinary mistakes. In fact, some of the most valuable error coins ever discovered come from recent years. From dramatic off-center strikes and double strikes to rare wrong planchet errors that have sold for $37,230 to $116,540. These pennies show how a single moment of mechanical failure can turn spare change into a life-changing discovery. So the next time you see a 2016 penny, don't dismiss it as worthless. Hold it up to the light. Look closely at the color, the edges, and the design. Because what looks like an ordinary penny might actually be a rare survivor of a minting accident. A tiny piece of history that escaped unnoticed, waiting for someone curious enough to recognize its true value.